before the court with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark, and Mr. Darden. Is Mr. Darden with us today?
Yeah, it's too briefly.
All right. Is he going to be back shortly?
Very shortly, but
All right, well, before we resume with the jury and the witness, Robert Riske, I just want to take this opportunity to thank both the Los Angeles Police Department and the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for their efforts in coordinating our crime scene view on Sunday. I think it went amazingly well. It was a very, very smooth operation. I thought that the intrusion upon the communities was as minimal as was required under the circumstances. I appreciate the cooperation of the news media helicopters staying out of earshot as much as possible. Appreciate the cooperation of the press and not being overly aggressive. And I appreciate the patience and cooperation of counsel in accomplishing this, because I think it went like clockwork, literally. And I think it was an example of how crime scene views ought to be handled. And there were no glitches.
I think the court is aware that, standpoint of defense, at the scene on Sunday, we expressed that we felt it was the essence of professionalism the way this was conducted, and we applauded all the various agencies that came together to work and show how things can really work well.
All right, counsel, anything else we need to put on the record before we invite the jurors to rejoin us? All right, Deputy Magnero, let's have the jury, please. Ladies and gentlemen, be seated. All right, let the record reflect that we have now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You look well rested and well shopped, I understand. All right, I see smiles there. Thank you. Let me thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience and cooperation during our visit to the scene on Sunday. I realize that there was a lot of waiting involved for you. However, I felt that it was very important that all of us go out there and look at these locations personally to understand the perspectives and the distances of the particular locations, and I appreciate your patience and cooperation during our visit. All right, records reflect that Robert Riske is still on the witness stand. Mr. Riske, you're advised that you are still under oath, and Mr. Cochran, you may resume your cross-examination.
Thank you very kindly. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Officer Riske. I have some additional questions for you. With regard to the dog, you saw this Akita dog while you were out there, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you know, and can you tell us what was done with the dog that particular morning?
It was taken to the animal regulations.
And was that while you were there?
Yes, sir.
And do you know who specifically that dog was turned over to at animal regulations?
No, I don't.
That is a city agency, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether or not anyone at any time examined that animal to determine whether or not there was any evidence that he had bit anyone that night?
No, I don't.
Do you know whether or not anything was done to preserve this blood that we've heard was on the dog's paws and hind legs?
No, I don't.
Were you at the scene when this animal was turned over to someone at animal regulations?
No, I wasn't.
Do you know what time that was done?
Officer Glorioso and his partner took the dog. I don't know what time they left.
All right, so they took the dog at the scene,
That's correct.
and they then took him to some other location
Right.
in their police car?
Yes.
Have you seen any reports of what they did with the dog and who they turned the dog over to?
No, I haven't.
And what was Glorioso's partner's name, sir? If you recall.
I believe his partner was Officer Ziegler.
Ziegler?
I believe. I'm not positive.
Okay. Now, turning our attention back to the interior of 875 Bundy, at any time, before we get to the interior, at any time that morning, did you ever go to 873, the unit just to the side of 875? Did you go toward Dorothy Street? Did you ever go over there and knock on that door, try to rouse anybody there?
Towards Dorothy would be 877.
877. Thank you very much. 877 as opposed to 873, which would be Carp, wouldn't it? Yes. So
No, I know it was a door knock, but I didn't do it personally, no.
all right, somebody did go to that door?
Yes.
Okay. And did you ever go to the house that's on the corner of Dorothy and Bundy?
No, I didn't.
You did not do that yourself?
No.
All right. Now, with regard to the interior of Bundy, was anyone in charge of looking at the items or examining any items inside the interior of Bundy?
I have no knowledge of that.
We know that you were the first officer who went inside there, is that correct?
That's correct.
And in the course of your search for evidence, did you ever look at look in the trash cans inside the Bundy location?
My purpose for being in a house wasn't to search for evidence. My purpose for being in a house wasn't to search for evidence, sir.
No, I understand that, but you told us at some point that you searched in the trash cans outside and around. Remember that? And I was just asking you, did you ever search any of the trash cans inside of Bundy?
No, I didn't.
Do you know if any other officer did at all?
No, I don't.
Now, with regard to the interior location, so that I'm clear, we had a jury view on Sunday so that things may be a little clearer. If you can help us with this, what time was it that you saw this ice cream cup on this banister on June 13th in the early morning hours?
Between 12:30, 12:40 in the morning.
12:30 to 12:40. And as I understand your testimony, this ice cream cup was on the banister as you go down the steps and going out toward the garage. Is
That's
that correct?
correct.
Did you ever lift that ice cream cup up?
No, I didn't.
Could you tell from the condition of that melting ice cream as you described it, what was the flavor of the ice cream?
I have no idea.
Can you tell whether it was 1 scoop or 2 scoops or whatever?
I have no idea.
Did you ever have occasion to lift the container up?
No.
So you never saw under it whether it left a ring or anything
No.
on that counter? You never did that?
No, I didn't.
How many officers, in addition to you, that you're aware of, saw the melting ice cream cup there on that banister as you're going out the back there?
Including the detectives?
Yes, everybody that you know saw it, that you pointed out to.
5. I don't know.
All right. Well, tell us who those 5 would be, sir.
B. Officer Wally, Detectives Furman and Phillips, and Van Adder and Lang.
All right. So all 4 of the detectives, Wally, and yourself at minimum.
That's correct.
So it'd be 6 altogether.
Altogether, yes.
And when you last saw this melting ice cream, it was still on this banister there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
With the spoon having fallen down on the ground right below it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, with regard to, while we're in that back part of the house, you described for us the other day that the Jeep was outside the residence when you arrived there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that the right passenger door of is that the right front passenger of that Jeep was open?
Yes, sir.
And in an open condition of that right front passenger door, would there be an interior light on?
The door was ajar. I don't remember if the light was on or not.
So you can't tell us one way or the other?
No.
But the door was ajar.
Right.
So in other words, if you walked over that door, could you just open it?
No.
Was it locked and ajar, or did you try to open it?
It was, I didn't try to open it, but it was closed, but not all the way. It was locked, but you couldn't open it, but it wasn't closed all the way.
All right. Do you know that it was locked?
No. It was closed. I don't know if it was locked.
It was just closed. So in other words, you didn't try to get inside
No,
there
I
and
didn't.
look to see if anything was inside there?
No.
And do you know whether any of the officers there looked inside the Jeep that morning?
No.
You just can tell us the door was ajar
That's correct.
and nobody ever tried it. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now,
Objection, that is not his testimony that nobody ever tried it.
nobody that you know of tried it. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's what I'm saying. All right. Now, sir, with regard to this, you described for us the other day, I believe, that you said that there was a dime and a penny in this driveway north of the Jeep?
I didn't say that, sir. I said there was change.
Change, okay. Do you recall what the denomination of the change were?
No, I don't.
Do you recall there was 2 dimes and 2 pennies out there?
I have no clue.
You don't have a clue? Do you recall that there was more than 2 pieces of change there?
No. I don't know.
You don't recall?
No.
Have you seen any photographs
No, I haven't.
of this since that happened?
Well, the photograph up here.
You saw the photographs here?
Yes, sir.
And the other day we had a photograph of a dime and a penny, I think.
I believe so, yes.
And do you recall there was more change than that there?
No, I don't.
Have you seen the police reports in this matter that indicated there were 2 dimes and 2 pennies?
No, I haven't.
Do you recall seeing a small blue glass heart or something on the driveway in front of the right tire of that Jeep?
No, I don't.
You don't recall seeing that?
No, I don't.
When you described for us that this photographer was taking pictures of the back area, was that part of the area they were taking pictures of, where the change was and where this heart might be?
He was taking pictures of the alley and the residence when I was there. I don't remember taking any pictures of any evidence.
While you were there, did you ever see any police officers dust this Jeep at all for any prints or anything of that nature?
No.
Did you see any criminalists while you were there look in the alleyway for any track marks or anything of that nature?
No.
You never saw that done while you were there?
No.
Now, with regard to the other part of the interior of the house, you described for us last week how you walked kind of in the plant area so you wouldn't walk through the blood. And did you get your shoes muddy, dirty doing that?
I don't think so, no.
When you went inside the house, did you track any mud or dirt inside?
No.
You sure about that?
Positive.
All right. When you went inside and you used this phone to call your superior, call that?
Yes, sir.
You told us that you saw this envelope with Mr. Simpson's name on it, return address.
That's correct.
Did you keep that envelope? Did you
No,
take
I
it?
didn't.
And when you described that Mr. Simpson, to your mind at that point, was somehow involved from that point forward based upon that envelope, is what you saw, is that right?
That's correct.
Now, when you went upstairs, you described for us some candles. I think you described 3 candles that you recall that were lit, is that right?
I believe there was 3, yes.
All right, do you recall any more being lit?
No.
Only the 3?
Yes.
And where were those 3?
They would be to the west of the bathtub on the counter.
West of the bathtub, and that's the bathtub in the master bedroom?
Right.
And is that the bathtub that had this water in it?
Yes, sir.
And I may have asked you this, but allow me if I can ask again. Did you ever touch that water?
No, I didn't.
So you don't know if it was cold or hot or
No, I
whatever?
don't.
Did it seem as though somebody had already taken a bath?
I couldn't tell.
You didn't pay that much attention to
No.
it? The candles were around the tub?
They were to the rear.
To the rear of
west.
the tub? Were there other lights on upstairs there when you got up there?
I believe there was a table lamp in the master in the master bedroom, I'm sorry. And the hall light was on.
All right, and did you, as you're walking through the house, did you see any ice buckets with any ice therein or any chill wine as though somebody might be expecting a guest?
Not that I recall, no.
You don't recall? In the 2 rooms where you found the sleeping children, I presume those lights were off in those particular rooms?
That's correct.
Did you see, did you look through any of the closets while you were there?
Just
Clothes closets?
Just for suspects, not a thorough search, no.
You didn't look for any particular clothes or take any
No.
clothes or anything?
No.
Now, with regard to the bedroom, in that master bedroom, you described for us that the clothing or the bed clothing was kind of piled in the middle of the bed as though either somebody had been in the bed or it hadn't been made up. Is that right?
That's correct.
Did it appear to you that the occupant of that house had been expecting someone to come there?
I really don't know. I couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell? Was there any music on inside the house when you came in, or TV on at all?
There was music
There was music on? And can you tell us where this music was coming from, sir?
from the living room just as you entered the front door.
Could you tell what it was? Did you turn it off at some point?
No, I didn't touch the stereo, no.
Okay, it was coming from a stereo?
Yes.
Could you tell whether it was a CD or a
No.
tape or whatever?
No.
What kind of music was it?
It's just light. I don't know.
Light music?
It wasn't rock. It wasn't country. Just light, like maybe classical or jazz.
Okay, something light.
Yes, sir.
And was playing when you first went in the house?
That's correct.
The shoes that you were wearing that night, do you always wear those same shoes, or do you have more than one pair of shoes?
I have more than one pair.
How many pairs do you have back in June?
2.
Is that fairly normal among patrolmen,
Yes.
LAPD? 2 pair of shoes? How do you determine? You wear one? Does it depend whether they're shined, or do you just wear them till they wear them out and then put the others on?
No, I usually wear the same pair unless it rains and they get soaked, and I change until they dry out.
So you have then a second pair.
That's correct.
Now, you told us there was music on. Do you recall whether or not there was a television on at all that you recall?
There was a television on in the master bedroom.
Okay, and it was on.
It was on, yes.
And again, you just left that on?
Just left it on.
It was you left everything on, or
That's
left everything on that was on, the stereo and the TV.
That's correct.
Right. Left the bath water in the tub.
Yes, sir.
Left the ice cream melting. It was you didn't take anything.
I didn't touch anything.
And so that we're clear, while you were there, the photographer never came inside and took any pictures of anything inside that place, right?
Not that I was aware of, no.
You never instructed him to do that.
No.
And in your presence, you never heard either Phillips or Furman or Lang or Van Adder instruct the photographer to take any pictures of the
No.
interior. Did any members of the media arrive at that scene at some time that morning?
Not while I was there, no.
Even when you were out in the back or the front, you were not aware of the presence of anyone in the media by the time you left at about 7:15?
There was no media.
Okay. We talked last week about the time that the detectives left to go over to the Rockingham residence. Do you recall that?
I remember speaking of it, yes.
And that was what time did they leave?
I really don't know.
And I think you told us they were gone about an hour,
Hour and a half.
and you thought they got back by what time?
Between 6:30, 6:45.
6:30, 6:45?
So,
So they would have left, if they're gone an hour and a half, they would have left by 5 or thereabouts. Would that be fair?
5:15, 5:30, I don't know.
Do you know what time the sun came up that morning in June?
No, I don't.
So somewhere an hour, hour and a half, they were gone out of the presence. When they left, when all 4 of these detectives who were in charge, well, 2 of whom were now in charge of the scene, when they left, who was in charge of that scene over there in Rockingham?
My supervisor?
And who was that?
Either Sergeant Rossi or Sergeant Kuhn.
They're both sergeants. So did you hear some conversation between the detectives who were now leaving the scene where the bodies were to go to someplace else?
No.
And was your understanding that all 4 of these detectives were leaving to go to Rockingham to notify Mr. Simpson?
I don't know why they were going.
They didn't tell you?
No.
Are you aware of the LAPD policy with regard to the notification of the next of kin? What the manual says about that?
No.
You're not aware of that?
Nope.
You weren't aware then, and you're not aware now?
No.
Okay. Did you ever hear anybody discuss notifying either the Brown family or the Goldman families regarding these tragic deaths?
No.
Did you notice that you had occasion to walk this long walkway that we talked about the other day that you described maybe as being 120, 130 feet, you know, from the front all the way to the back alleyway? Did you notice that there were some trees that tended to drop some kind of berries or whatever that tended to stain that sidewalk? Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
As you were looking back there?
I didn't notice that, no.
You didn't, did you ever walk back there when it was light?
No, I didn't.
So when you were back there, you only had the aid of a flashlight, and you didn't sit when it was light, right?
Right.
All right.
It's actually two questions, but yes.
Okay, let me thank you for answering both. Yes, yes? Okay. You never saw any berries deposited on that walkway during the light hours, is that
No,
right?
I didn't.
And you never went over to Rockingham?
Not, I went later in the evening.
Later on that day?
That's correct, just for traffic control.
Okay, did you ever go inside the property?
No, I went after it was done being a crime scene.
All right, what time did you get over to Rockingham?
11:15, 11:30 p.m.
Late at night,
That's correct.
on June 13th?
It was either the 13th or the 14th.
One of those two.
Right.
But you never went inside the property?
No, I didn't.
essentially. Now, with regard to this area where you saw these bodies that you described for us, you had occasion, did you not, to observe the body of the female victim you
That's
described
correct.
for us? Do you recall seeing blood spots on the back of the female victim, Ms. Simpson?
I really don't know, no.
If you were to see a picture of that, would that perhaps that fresh a recollection?
Maybe, but I don't remember seeing them.
May I have just a second here?
Photographer's direction to attempt to take photographs of the scene on the screen.
This is 1012. Do you see those blood spots that appear on the back there?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall seeing the body in that condition that night, those spots?
No, I don't.
Did you ever tell the photographer or direct him to take any pictures of the back as it appeared there?
No.
All right, you can take it down. Thank you. Now, with regard to this area, this very small area where Mr. Goldman's body was found, he was lying somewhere against a tree right in that front area, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And you described that area as being about how wide, given the tree as the backstop? How far would you say it was from that tree to that front gate, and from the gate to the way you would enter that place?
I would estimate 10 by 6 or smaller.
10 by 6 or smaller?
Yeah.
Yeah. With regard to that area, while you were there, now you saw in one of the photographs that Detective Furman, you saw his shoes and footprint in there when he was pointing at something under some of the foliage. You recall that, right? That one picture?
I don't think there was any testimony that Detective Furman's
All right.
footprints were in the scene.
Let me rephrase it. Let me rephrase it, Your Honor. You saw a photograph, did you not, of a detective or some individual in a shirt and some pants pointing down at toward the foliage? Did you
That's
recall
correct.
that? Do you know who that person was?
Detective Furman?
And did you see that person's shoe also?
Yes, I did.
And the shoe was uncovered, had no booties or anything on that shoe,
That's
did it?
correct.
And he had nothing on his hands either, did he?
Right.
And that picture was taken in that area, this small area that we've been talking about, where Mr. Goldman's body was found, is that right?
Right.
And while you were there, did you ever see anyone take or seek to preserve any shoe prints that were in that particular area, if any?
Objection made. How do you, what, break up the concrete? I mean,
If he understands the question, we don't. Thank you.
Overruled.
No, I didn't.
You not see anybody do that?
No.
Did you ever direct anyone when you were there to take any pictures in that particular area?
No, I didn't.
And I'm talking not only about the concrete, I'm talking about the dirt area.
I didn't direct anybody to take any pictures anywhere.
And did you ever, in your presence, ever hear any of the detectives who were supposedly in charge of the scene to do that?
No.
Now, I think we covered on last week that when you left the scene, the coroner had not arrived. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you know whether or not the coroner had been called at that point?
I don't know.
And you didn't participate in that?
No, I didn't.
All right. We established you left by 7:15.
That's correct.
And with regard to the movement of evidence, we talked briefly about this last week, that one of the things you try to do at a crime scene is preserve the evidence and not move it. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. And with regard to some of the evidence I showed you last week, you could see that it had been moved. Is that correct?
Right.
And do you know whether or not that evidence had been moved by virtue of the coroner moving the body, or do you know?
I wasn't there. I don't know.
So you have no way of knowing?
No.
Even if the coroner were to move a body, best procedure would be not to move the evidence. Would you agree?
Objection.
Sustained.
Well,
It's argumentative. With this witness.
okay. Thank you, Your Honor. You know yourself that you do everything you can not to move evidence. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And if ever you moved evidence, or evidence was moved from one location to the other, you'd write a report explaining why that was done, would you not?
Right.
That'd be standard procedure, wouldn't it?
For me, yes.
And you're a well-trained officer.
I'd like to believe so.
In addition to you searching the area for any weapons or bloody clothes or whatever, as you described for us last week, were there other officers who also searched up and down that alleyway and that sort of thing that you're aware of?
I know they were door knocking a residence. I don't know if they were searching. I can't testify for anybody else.
All right. You know you searched, and you know other officers were out there, but you don't know whether they searched or not.
Right.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Riske. Thank you, sir.
Redirect, Ms. Clark.
Good morning.
Officer Riske, you got asked a whole lot of questions about what you've done in this investigation just now by counsel, didn't you?
Yes.
What's your job, sir?
Respond to the call, secure the scene. That's it. Make notifications.
You're a patrol officer, right?
That's correct.
And have you ever heard of the title of investigating officer?
Yes.
Can you tell us, is there a difference in the duties between an investigating officer and a patrol officer?
Yes, there is.
Tell us, what is an investigating officer supposed to do?
Just investigate the crime, take copious notes, and look at the evidence and write it down.
And does he direct the criminalists and tell them what evidence to collect?
Yes.
And does he direct the photographer and tell him what pictures to take?
Sustained. It's also he or she.
He or she? Person. Sorry. Who tells the photographer what photographs to take?
The detective?
The investigating officer?
Yes.
And who tells the criminalist what evidence to collect?
The investigating officer?
And who tells the print people where to take fingerprints and dust for prints?
The investigating officer?
And who is supposed to oversee the coordination with the removal of the bodies by the coroner?
The investigating officer?
Are you supposed to have anything to do with any of that stuff?
Not in this instance, no.
In this crime scene, you were the patrol officer who happened to be first one there.
That's correct.
So none of those things are supposed to be done by you.
No.
And that's proper procedure, not for it to be done by you.
That's correct.
And is it part of your duties to observe and make sure that all of these things we've just mentioned are done?
No.
Is it your duty to watch and see what is being done by the print people or the criminalist or a photographer or coroner?
No.
Oh,
Now, the fact that you did not see photographs being taken inside the house, does that mean that they weren't taken?
No, it doesn't.
Did you stand guard inside the house to watch where the photographer went?
No.
Did you stand guard behind the house to watch and see what the photographer took pictures of?
No.
Did you stand guard in front of the house to see what the photographer took pictures of?
No, I didn't.
Other than taking photographs of bloody shoe prints, can you think of any other way to preserve them?
Object to that question, Sorry. Leading and suggesting.
Overruled.
No.
You ever seen anybody go and break up the concrete to take the pieces of concrete so you can preserve bloody shoe prints?
No.
Overruled. Slow down though, Ms. Carter.
Sorry.
No, before you're going really fast there.
Are you smoking? Okay. Now, your observations at the crime scene, sir, are you there to closely examine the bodies?
No.
What are you there to do when you make your observations as first officer on the scene?
So, notify the investigating officer of my observations and secure the scene, make sure nothing gets moved.
So when you found that the passenger door of the Jeep was not fully locked, would it have been proper for you?
Closed, not fully locked.
We don't know if it was locked. That's the conclusion. Was ajar was his testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm sorry. You didn't know if it was locked or not.
No, I didn't.
How was it then that you made the observation? Tell us what you saw about that door that made you think it wasn't fully closed.
There's a gap, probably 1.5 to 2 inches between the door and the body of the vehicle.
Okay, then if there was a gap so that the door was partially open, can you tell us how it could be locked?
No, I don't mean it was partially. I mean it was closed, but not closed all the way.
Okay, and if it wasn't closed all the way, can you think of a way it could be locked?
Do you know?
I don't know if it was locked or not. No.
Have you ever been able to? You've had experience with cars. You've driven a few, right?
A few.
Still driving a car?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever been able to lock the door when it hasn't been fully closed?
Yes.
Overruled. It's also a matter of common experience. Everybody here drives a car. We're in L.A.
That's true. It would have been proper for you to go and try and open that door?
No.
Why not?
Because I get my fingerprints on the door, and it'd disrupt the integrity of the crime scene again.
And you want to make sure that you don't do that until print people who come and try and lift prints?
That's correct.
And you didn't see the print people try and get prints off the car, did you?
No.
That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
No.
You just didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
And with regard to the ice cream, you didn't lift that cup.
No.
You didn't try and taste the ice cream.
No, I didn't.
Would it have been proper for you to do that?
No.
Why not?
Because again, it'd disrupt the integrity of the crime scene. I'm just make note of it and leave it alone.
Leave it there for the investigating officer or handling detectives to observe?
That's correct.
Now, about that ice cream, did you have any way of knowing how frozen it was when it was purchased?
No.
Do you know whether it was yogurt or ice cream?
No, I don't.
Could you tell by looking at it?
No.
Do you know whether Nicole Brown put it into the freezer when she got home and took it out just before she went outside and was attacked?
No.
Total speculation on counsel's part.
As counsel's questions.
Overruled.
Do you know how long it takes for that particular brand to melt?
No, I don't.
Do you know whether it was frozen in the middle and maybe melted around the sides?
There appeared to be a little bit of mass in the middle with a fluid surrounding it, but I don't know. Like I said, I didn't touch it.
Okay. So you don't know whether the core was still frozen?
No, I don't.
You know of any way to tell a difference between ice cream that's been melted for 2 versus 2.5 hours?
No.
Or 2.5 hours and 2 hours and 15 minutes?
No, I don't.
You know how anybody could tell the difference between that?
No.
Anybody could cause speculation.
Sustained. Sustained.
All right, now you have a duty to, what is your duty with respect to, what is your duty with respect to writing the notes on what you observed at the crime scene?
Just general information, basic notes.
And so it's a general observation of what you saw?
That's correct.
Whose duty is it to write the more detailed crime scene notes?
The investigating officer.
Okay. Nevertheless, did you notice anything with respect to the spoon that was in that ice cream?
That was on the floor.
As though the ice cream had melted and it fell out?
Sustained.
Was a spoon near where the ice cream was on the banister?
It was on the floor directly underneath the ice cream.
Okay. With respect to any ring that might have been underneath the cup, do you have any way of knowing whether she used to rest cups on that banister a lot?
Just my call.
Sustained.
Okay, now you didn't see all of the photographs that were taken, did you?
No, I didn't.
And the spoon that was near the, that was on the ground, what did that appear to be to you?
It's a pink plastic spoon.
Okay. And did you associate that spoon with the ice cream cup?
Yes.
Why?
This, generally, when you go get ice cream, that's the color of spoon you get. Pink plastic spoon.
And did you determine why that spoon was on the ground next to the cup?
No.
Did you pass on any observation with respect to that?
I told the investigating officer it looked like it just fell out when the ice cream melted.
And now you indicated that you didn't know what efforts had been made to notify the family of Ron Goldman or the family of Nicole Brown.
That's correct.
At the time that you were at the crime scene, sir, did you or anyone that you knew of know Nicole's maiden name?
I believe I ran a license plate on the Ferrari. It said Nicole Brown Simpson.
And from that, were you able to determine where her family was?
No.
At the time that you were at the crime scene, sir, did anyone know the identity of Ron Goldman?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So to the best, so at the time that you were there, did anyone know how to make contact with his family?
No.
And you indicated that when you first entered the condominium, you thought that Mr. Simpson was involved. And by that you meant?
I meant maybe a relative or a friend or maybe a potential victim.
So you thought he was a relative or a friend of one of the victims
Right.
because of what you saw inside the condominium?
That's correct.
All right, now you did not see all of the photographs that were taken in this case, is that right?
That's correct.
And you weren't present when, so you have no idea when some of the photographs were taken that were shown to you?
Been asking actually several times upon redirect.
Twice.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I won't do it. It's foundational, I'm going into another area.
All right, proceed. Thank you.
In your experience, sir, are photographs taken both before and after the coroner arrives?
Yes.
And has it ever occurred in your experience that removal of bodies from a scene will cause some evidence close to the bodies to be disturbed?
In my experience, they've actually picked up the evidence, tagged where it was at, removed the body, and put the evidence back, and took photographs.
But in your experience, have they taken photographs before the bodies were moved
Yes.
in order to preserve it exactly as it was found?
Right.
Overall.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Your answer was yes? And then photographs are taken after the bodies are removed?
That's correct.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Certainly.
By the way, sir, what was it, again, I apologize if I've asked this, I don't remember, because this is not from today. What was it you saw in the condominium that made you believe that Mr. Simpson was related to one of the victims?
There was a lithograph of Mr. Simpson on the north wall. There was some family photos, and then the letter with the return address.
Thank you, sir. Now, you were not wearing gloves, were you, sir?
No, I wasn't.
And Detective Mark Furman, he was not wearing gloves, was he?
Not while I was there, no.
Okay. And Sergeant Rossi was not wearing gloves?
No.
And the detectives were not wearing gloves while you were there?
No.
Were they handling the evidence?
Not while I was there, no.
Were they collecting the evidence?
No.
Were they dusting for prints?
No, they weren't.
Were they lifting blood spots?
No.
Sir, you indicated that you did not touch the Jeep and you did not touch the cup in order to make sure that everything was preserved,
Right.
so that you wouldn't get your prints on it.
Right.
How much training did it take for you to figure out that you shouldn't touch evidence before the criminalist examines it?
Sustained. It's an argumentative question for your own witness.
Did it take a lot of training for you to figure that out?
No.
To the best of your knowledge, do all of these detectives know that as well?
Sustained. Sustained.
Purpose of your search inside the residence, sir, was that to examine it for evidence?
No, it wasn't.
What were you doing in there?
Looking for any other victims or a suspect.
So you were just trying to clear it in case there was somebody in peril or there was a suspect inside?
Right.
You were asked by counsel about the Star 69 feature on the
Correct.
telephone, and that's the feature that registers incoming calls, and then it will immediately connect the caller to the last person who called.
I don't
You
even know
remember
what that is.
Okay. Okay, then are you aware that no matter how many outgoing calls are made, that would not disrupt that feature because it registers incoming calls?
Sustained. Sustained. He just testified he had no idea what it is.
Can we approach, Your Honor?
Without. Ms. Clark, you hold on just a second here. Madam Reporter, can you see the appropriate connector for that? Mr. Harris, can you assist us here? Ms. Clark, you have to use the little screw connectors there. Yeah, to make sure that it stays. Mr. Darden, you get anything on the screen? I think we'll have to reboot after the recess. Oh well, we tried. Take good notes. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have here, you'll notice that we all have computer screens on our desks. The attorneys have them, I have them. This is so that when the testimony is taken down by the court reporter, we have an immediate readout as to what the testimony is, so that I can go back and check the last question or clarify things, and the attorneys have the same thing. And unfortunately, the prosecutor's connector came apart. It's called real-time reporting. Are we back online? Ms. Clark?
I think so. Thank you.
All right.
You indicated, sir, that you used the telephone inside Ms. Brown's condominium when you first went inside,
That's correct.
but you had a rover with you.
Right.
Why'd you use the phone?
Because our rovers don't have telephone capabilities, and we don't have phones in our cars, and I didn't want to broadcast over my rover that there was a possible double homicide involving a celebrity,
Why not? Why didn't you want to use your rover to do that?
because the media would have beat my back up there.
I'm sorry?
The media would have beat all the additional officers there,
They would have gotten there before the additional officers? How come?
because everybody knows they drive around with scanners and they respond to calls. And I didn't want them to get there before we had a crime scene set up.
So the media has the frequency of your rover?
Right.
Has that happened to you before, that they've picked up on your rover?
All the time.
The shoes that you wore at the crime scene, sir, did someone later photograph the soles of those shoes so they could be compared to the bloody shoe prints found at the scene?
Yes.
And who was it that did that?
Detective Phillips.
And when did he do that?
It's either later the evening or the next day.
Sir, do you recall you were shown a photograph of an officer walking up the walkway by defense counsel last week?
Yes.
And do you recall seeing the logo of American Journal at the bottom of that photograph?
I don't believe when I saw it there, no.
You didn't see it on the photograph?
I saw it on a photograph upstairs, but I don't recall seeing it on the one here.
Okay. The photograph you saw upstairs, did that seem to be the same one that Mr. Cochran showed to
Yes.
you?
I'll check that. I don't know about American Journal. I'll check the format.
Oh, well,
Did the defense mark a print of that?
yes. It has the broadcast ID on the lower right-hand corner blocked out.
Of American Journal? You don't know? Let me see.
No idea.
Thank you. May I approach you, Honor? Showing you what's been marked as Defense 1011. Do you see this photograph, sir?
Yes, I do.
Is that the one you recognize as Mr. Cochran showed you before?
Yes, I do.
And you see this little box down here in the right-hand corner?
Yes,
It's blanked out in this photograph, isn't it?
that's correct.
photograph that I'd like to be marked as people's next in order.
57 equals 57.
57, thank you. Show it to council. May I show you, sir, People's 57?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall seeing that upstairs?
Yes, I do.
And does that appear to be a copy of the same photograph you're shown in Defendant's 1011?
Yes.
Now, instead of having that blanked-out gray box that you have in the Defendant's exhibit, you have American Journal shown in that same area where that box is blank?
Yes, ma'am.
And that in the People's exhibit, then it shows you that it's an American Journal photograph.
That's correct.
And you said that there were no media there when you were present, is that right?
That's right.
Are you aware of what American Journal is, sir?
It's a news magazine or a news show.
On television.
All right.
Now, you have no idea when that photograph was taken, do you?
No, I don't.
Because you weren't present when any media was present, were you?
No.
Now, at some point in your experience, sir, after evidence is collected and the criminalist and the photographer finish their work at the crime scene, what happens to that crime scene?
Just tear it down, release it.
You release the crime scene.
That's correct.
And if you didn't do that, I guess all of L.A. would be taped off, wouldn't it?
Sustained.
So at some point, the crime scene is broken down?
Right.
Overruled.
And at the point that you left at 7:15, was that 7:15, sir?
7:15.
Were there any officers walking on that walkway?
No.
And it was still taped off?
That's right.
And when you were there, the crime scene was maintained with that tape?
That's correct.
Did you see anyone walk on that walkway where the blood was as shown in that photograph?
No, I didn't.
And you don't know when that photograph was taken?
No, I don't.
Now, while the crime scene tape is still up, before the criminalist or the photographer or the print people come in and the investigating officers come in to do their work, do you just let any curious cop walk in there and check out the crime scene?
No.
What do you do?
Just make sure people stay out of it.
Who is allowed into the tape?
The investigating officers.
So whoever's just necessary to maintain security and do the investigation who's assigned to the
Correct.
case. Sir, Mr. Cochran showed you some photographs. Last week. I'd like to show them to you now, if you don't mind. You want to cut the feed, Your Honor? Sorry. This is People's.
Clark, do we know what photograph this is?
I think it's People's 44, Your Honor. I'm attempting to verify that now.
P. I believe Your Honor,
44.
this photograph is located on the,
Mrs. Robertson confirms this is 44.
It's People's 44. Thank you, Jennifer. That's okay. You recall seeing that photograph that Mr. Cochran showed you last week?
Yes.
And then Mr. Cochran showed you this photograph, you recall?
Yes, I do.
And you made note of the fact in your testimony that this glove in this photograph appears to be in a different position than in the earlier one.
Right.
Now, in this photograph, sir, you see a numbered tag.
Yes, I do.
Go back to the other one, P44, John.
Sure.
Thanks. All right, now in this photograph, you don't see a numbered tag, do you?
No.
You see a shoe
Yes.
next to that, right next to that glove?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall whose shoe that was?
Mr. Goldman?
So in this photograph, it would appear Mr. Goldman's body was still in place.
Right.
Back to the other one. And in this photograph, do you see Mr. Goldman's shoe?
No, I don't.
It would appear then, do you see bloody drag marks above the number 102 in the upper left-hand corner?
Sustained. Sustained bleeding.
What do you see up in the upper left-hand corner above the number 102?
Dark striations.
And-
Which foot is this?
I'm sorry.
we have not introduced this particular photo. This, I believe, was marked as Defense Exhibit 1005. Is that correct?
Mrs. Robertson? No. Not 1005.
That's fine, I'll mark it for People's next in order. At this time, until we can locate the defense number.
Yeah, but we're comparing their photograph to this.
Well, this is the People's photograph.
So this is, I'm sorry, Ms.
I have it on one of
Robertson.
the boards.
Hold on, let's,
Okay.
so you don't have to have duplicate photographs. All right, but still People's next in order would be 58, Mrs. Robertson? All right, 58.
It has been marked on it. It was People's 56H.
All right, 56H.
It's on the board.
Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Do you see Ron Goldman's boot in this picture?
No, I don't.
It would appear that his body has been removed, is that correct?
On that question, he's not there.
Sustained.
Does his body appear to be there in this photograph, sir?
No.
Body never looked at the form of that question. So,
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Do you see his body in this picture?
No, I don't.
You don't see his boot?
No.
Now, Mr. Cochran has this photograph, but he didn't show you this one, did he?
No, he didn't.
this one, Your Honor, I don't have this photograph. I don't have to show any photographs. I've checked
Sustained.
That's argumentative.
Sustained. Excuse me, counsel, on both sides, we don't need this kind of questioning or this kind of response.
Officer, can you tell us, do you see Mr. Goldman's body in this photograph?
No, I don't.
And can you,
All right, Ms. Clark,
and
you want to
can you
mark
mark
this?
this? Yes, Your Honor.
All right, this will be People's 58.
So if I may check, Your Honor, I want to make sure we have it already.
Certainly.
Marked it. No. People's 58? I'm going to zoom in on the area that was shown to you in the other photo that was shown to you by Mr. Cochran in People's 56H, and see if you can locate the close-up view. This is a perspective shot of that particular photograph. And while you're looking at this one, sir, do you see the same dark striations above that number tag near the bush?
Yes, I do.
Mr. White, let me just ask you a quick question. As to this photograph, I don't think this is a restricted photo. All right, what's coming up after this? This is going to be a close-up of this?
Right.
All right.
Nothing. Sir, do you see the glove in this photograph?
Yes, I do.
Okay. It's hard with this zoom effect to see the number, but let me show you the board has been marked as People's 56. And in 56H, do you see the photograph that corresponds to the view that you have there on the screen?
Yes, I do.
And does that appear to be 56H?
Yes, it is.
And so this photograph that was shown to you by Mr. Cochran is a close-up view of the second perspective. Laser. Is a close-up shot, and this one that's been marked as 58 is the perspective view.
Right,
And you can tell now in this photograph that Mr. Goldman's body has been removed.
right.
Mr. Clark, do you want
Thank
to
you.
print that close-up?
Print the close-up we just did. Now, you were present at the scene, were you not, sir? And you've testified that the area in which Mr. Goldman's body was found was 10 by 6?
I believe so, yes.
Was that a very, very small area, sir?
Yes,
Kind of looked like a cage.
right.
Oh,
Now, the glove and the cap and the envelope were right at his feet, is that correct?
The glove and a cap, the envelope was a little farther away.
all right, Ms. Clark, do we need this photograph any longer?
No, I was waiting.
All right, we'll mark the printout of the close-up as 58A.
Please.
I think this is the envelope, Your Honor. I think it's okay. Okay, you remember, and this one is marked, this one is People's on the board.
This is from one of the charts, I believe. Did we accomplish lettering those?
It's a letter one, yeah.
It's on People's 56, and I believe it is 56.
No. It's not 56.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, it is on
44.
People's,
People's 54, but it has not been individually labeled.
All right, chart 54.
People's 54, perhaps the court would prefer if I label it as well, as I have the others. I'll label the envelope showing the upper left-hand corner as A, photograph, close-up of Manhattan gloves, B, photograph of Ms. Brown, C.
Ms. Clark, I'm
photograph-
sorry, why don't we, you have them numbered there. Number 1, 2, 3. Why don't we just put number 54, paren 1, 54, paren 2, in keeping with what the exhibit actually says, rather than confuse it even more.
Because, Your Honor, we don't have the envelope numbered here.
It says glasses 3, doesn't it?
It says glasses. Okay. So we'll have it with the corresponding numbers?
Yes,
Okay.
54, paren 3.
Okay. And that would be 54.3, Mark's glasses on the others.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So we don't confuse it even more.
Okay. So rather than show the board, because I don't want to cut the feed, I'm just going to use 54.3.
All right. All right, Ms. Clark, do you have much more?
Yes.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, then we're going to take a 15-minute court reporter recess. Please remember my admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case. Don't let anybody contact or communicate with you, and we will see you back here in 15 minutes. Let me ask you to step back into the jury room, please. All right, we'll stand, and Officer Riske, you can step down. 15 minutes.